السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How
اهلا
are
وسهلا
you؟
بحضرتك.
دكتورة داليا.
اهلا وسهلا بحضرتك داليا، بس ربنا يبارك في حضرتك يا رب.
أخبارك إيه؟ الحمد لله.
الحمد لله all good، الحمد لله رب
الحمد
العالمين.
لله رب العالمين. Thank you so much for accepting to be my
طبعا.
teacher for this course this semester. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, it's my honor. جزاك الله خير for allowing me this great opportunity to be with حضرتك.
جزانا وإياكم. So what are you a doctor in؟ تخصصك إيه؟
Medical doctor.
ما شاء الله medical doctor. What
I'm not
specialization؟
practice. I'm not practicing currently, but it's family practice.
Family practice. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. This is great. ما شاء الله. And where are you from originally؟
From Masr, from Egypt.
From Egypt. ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. والله فرصة سعيدة. Very nice to meet you.
أنا أسعد والله، ربنا
بارك
يبارك في
الله
حضرتك.
فيك بارك الله
Yes.
فيك. So you saw my email about the TA role this semester. I
Yes.
asked Dr. Sohail to add you to the course
He
space
did. He
on
did.
with them is from 5:30 to 8 p.m. بس طبعا
Mhm.
you don't need to stay for all of this time. يعني you can be with me just for the first few minutes. I will introduce you to the students. You will tell them that you're going to be my TA this semester, right? If they have any questions about the course content, the questions will come to me. But if they have any questions about discussion space or, opening a tab for something or uploading a document, all the technical, logistical stuff can come to you, inshallah. Okay?
تمام.
So you don't have to worry, like I said in the email, you don't have to worry about the course content. يعني the instruction materials, the teaching, all of that stuff, I will take care of it, inshallah. The grading, all of that stuff. But I just need help because I'm very busy. So I just need help with the logistical stuff to make sure that the course is flowing smoothly, inshallah, and that there are no issues and no challenges, inshallah.
إن شاء الله no
Right?
worries إن شاء
So for
الله.
example, right after the session tonight, I will email you and ask you to مثلا open discussion spaces for certain things. I will say مثلا open discussion space for Islam.com مثلا chapter 2 and chapter 3. You will kindly open discussion spaces for these, and always the discussion space closes before the next class time. يعني بيبقى دايما الديدلاين هو next class at 5:30. Next class هو Tuesday. هيبقى Tuesday at 5:30. هو if the calendar is in front of me here, I can tell you Tuesday is gonna be إن شاء الله yeah
They
next
will
yeah
be
next
today.
Tuesday is gonna
Okay.
be the 16th.
So the class meets every Tuesday and Thursday at
Exactly. So the
5:30.
class meets
Yeah.
always on Tuesday and Thursday from 5:30 to 8 p.m. This
Mhm.
is the standard meeting time for the class. And always the discussions are due before the next class starts. Always. So for example, after tonight's session, inshallah, after it ends, I'm going to ask you to open a discussion space. I will email you and say, for example, please open discussion space for, you just put islam.com chapter 2. They already have the book on Populi, so you don't have to worry about it. And please open a discussion space for islam.com chapter 3. So you'll open a discussion space for each one of them, and both of them will be due by Tuesday, June 16 at 5:30 p.m. So always it closes before the class time starts, inshallah. Okay? The other thing I will need your help with also is announcements. So for example, I send an announcement on the day of the class, right? Just saying, Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I'm gonna see you this evening at 5:30 p.m. And although the class link is the same every time, I always include it in the message, so the students don't have to worry about looking at, previous messages or previous announcements and so on. So I always include the link to the class session in my announcement. So you can also take care of sending these announcements on my behalf on the day of the class. So for example, next Tuesday, you will send a message to the students before the class starts that says, Salaam alaikum, dear students, right? I would like you to send a message after today's class, just introducing yourself. You will introduce yourself to them directly, inshallah, in today's session. But just in case somebody is absent or somebody is not able to join the class, I would also like you to send a message in Populi, introducing yourself to the students and also giving them your email. And you just say if you have any content related questions, send it to Dr. Sahar. But if you have any technical issues or issues related to logistics, please direct any questions related to logistics or discussion questions to me and just include your email in the message, inshallah. So this way they have your contact information and they can contact you about any issue related to logistics, files, documents, discussion board, all of that stuff, inshallah. Okay? The other thing I will need your help with later on is opening submission spaces for assignments, right? So at a later point, I will say, for example, Sister Dalia, please open a submission space for the spotlight presentation, right? And I will explain to you, for example, as the course syllabus says, it is worth 100 points, for example, right? So you're going to open a submission space so that the students will be able to submit the assignment under this submission space. And I assume that you know how all of that is done, correct?
Yes,
Fantastic.
alhamdulillah.
So inshallah, this kind of stuff, when I start grading the assignments, I might say, here are the students' grades. If you can just input them in the grade book on Elms and just send the student to the message, send the students a message saying your grades for this particular assignment are already there on the grade book, right? If you have any questions about your grade, you can contact Dr. Sahar, but you can just input the grades on my behalf. So things like inputting grades, adding documents, sending announcements, opening discussion boards, opening submission spaces for certain assignments, all of that stuff as we go along in the course, inshallah, I will just ask you to do it and I would really appreciate your help with that, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, Sister Dali. You have any questions for me?
لا تمام إن شاء الله. and يعني أنا I'm interested to learn from حضرتك, so if you allow me I can also attend more than few minutes of the class إن شاء
It
الله.
would be
I
my
don't
it
mind.
would be my honor. I would be honored to have you attend.
Thank
I
you.
just don't want to overload you and say, oh, you have to attend all the session. But of course, it goes without saying that if you want to attend as much of the session as you want, you are more than welcome, and it would be my pleasure to have you join us whenever your time permits, inshallah.
إن شاء الله.
Just let me take care of something important before the students start joining in, which is making sure that I can be the host for this meeting, which is very important. So Dr. Sohail sent me the instructions for that. Let's hope, inshallah, it works smoothly
إن شاء الله.
without any issues. Okay. Okay, claim host. Alhamdulillah. Says enter the code. Okay, claim host. Okay, excellent.
You are now alhamdulillah.
Now I am the host, alhamdulillah, which is great because I will need to, do things like, assign the students to breakout rooms. You know how to do all of that stuff, right? So,
The
yeah,
breakout rooms I didn't do it before, but I'm
right.
sure I
It's
can figure
easy.
it out
Yeah,
إن
yeah,
شاء
it's
الله.
easy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, breakout rooms. I can, make sure we can create that. Yes, there is the option here, breakout rooms. So, yeah, assign manually. Let's see how it works.
Yeah, I see here transfer to a room, like in the options, but I'm sure now that when حضرتك is the host, I might be that only you can do it from your end. But
Yeah,
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 I see
yeah.
the settings here. I think
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, inshallah, it's not supposed to be a problem, inshallah. We'll do it whenever, yani when the time comes, we'll do it, inshallah, during the session itself, inshallah. It shouldn't be a problem, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So yeah,
So,
but
where are you from originally? From Egypt?
yes, from Egypt, from Cairo, Egypt. And
I
yourself?
saw on the picture دي كانت القبة بتاعت جامعة القاهرة. On your picture before you joined, you had your picture on the.
This is the capital here in Washington, D.C.
Oh, really?
The
Okay.
one on my profile is the capital here in Washington, D.C. It looks like the dome for Cairo University, صح?
صح, that does. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So how long have you been in the US?
27 years, 26 years.
MashaAllah,
It
that's a
is.
lifetime. That's a lifetime.
It is.
I have been here for 18 years now. with the University of Maryland College Park.
ما
And
شاء الله ما شاء
alhamdulillah, I
الله
just got promoted to full professor. Alhamdulillah.
ما شاء الله.
الحمد
Congratulations
لله رب
ألف مبروك
العالمين. الحمد
لحضرتك.
لله.
الحمد
الحمد
لله.
لله. بارك الله فيك.
It is their honor يعني more than حضرتك's honor. May Allah
بارك
bless
الله
you.
فيك. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
وإياكم وإياكم.
Yes, I see already there are some students joining here. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Nadia, Brother Rashad.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah, doing well. How are
Doing
you?
well, alhamdulillah.
Yes, alhamdulillah, thank you.
Alhamdulillah, family is okay, everybody is okay.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Sorry about last class. I just
No?
couldn't do it with the kids outside.
I know you had an activity and you're like juggling all the balls and trying to be with us in the class and also taking care of the kids and all of that. So I appreciate you trying your best, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah
Were
khair
you
for-
able, جزانا وإياكم, were you able to sort out the issue for the discussion space?
No, it said that it was closed until 2:30, or sorry, 5:30, I
It
guess.
was closed until 5:30?
Yeah, so I think Sister Iman had the same issue because she posted also on the discussion board, but I emailed it to you. Did you get it or no?
I did not check my email before class, right?
Okay.
Immediately before class, but if you emailed it to me, then that's the right thing to do.
Sure. I
And
emailed it about half an hour ago.
no worries, no worries. As
Okay.
long as you met the deadline, that's the most important thing.
Okay,
And just
inshallah.
because this is a glitch that happened, I mean, it's not your fault. So I will ask Dr. Dalia, who is going to be the TA for the course. I'm going to introduce her in a moment. Once everybody joins, inshallah, so I don't have to repeat the introduction again.
Okay, inshallah.
So she is kindly agreed to be the TA for the course. So I'll ask her to kindly open the discussion space again for chapter 1 so that anybody can then post their discussion question there and everything will be in one place. So there's nothing, scattered and all of that stuff, inshallah. But jazakallah khair for letting us know.
No worries, inshallah.
It's important when you come across any issue, don't keep it to yourself. Let me know so that this way I can help everybody else.
Inshallah.
Thank you for that, Sister Nadia.
No problem. Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
جزانا وإياكم. We have Brother Rashad with us. Brother Rashad, how are you? Can you hear me? Sister Nadine, how are you doing?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm doing well.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How's everything?
Alhamdulillah. I joined
Yeah.
like the populi like a few minutes ago, so
Yes, alhamdulillah. So now
alhamdulillah.
you are officially a member of this course and you've been added to the roster, to the course roster.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah, this is great. This is great news, MashaAllah. I am so happy to hear that this is sorted out and that you are officially part of the course this semester, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Looking forward to your contributions to the course. I'm sure you're going to do a great job, inshallah. Inshallah. Very good news. We're just taking a minute waiting for other people to join, and then we will start and we will introduce our excellent TA for everybody so that we make this informal introduction, inshallah, and then we take it from there. But just give us like maybe a couple more minutes, just waiting for more people to join. Yeah. I have this persistent cold that doesn't want to go anywhere. It's been with me now for 10 days and it's been like a struggle every single day. I take medications and I do everything that's supposed to be done and it's still lingering and lingering and lingering. Subhanallah. So make dua for me that it goes away sometime soon, inshallah.
Allah, may Allah give you shifa.
Ameen ya Rabb, Ameen ya Rabb al-Alameen. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Sister Zil, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes,
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. How are you doing?
good. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Doing well, alhamdulillah. That's great. Good to see you.
Yes,
Let's
sorry
see who
I'm
else.
late.
No worries. Let's see who else joined here. Okay, one more minute. We'll just wait one more minute and then we will start. And then whoever comes can just join us as they come along, inshallah.
Are we gonna go over the discussion questions for chapter 1? Or I just want to make sure I understood the assignment.
Yes. So the
Okay.
discussion questions are just meant, like I said last time, to stimulate our discussion and conversation. Today,
Okay.
I'm giving a little bit of flexibility because it's our, first quote unquote formal class. Last time was more like introductions and also giving you an idea about the course and the syllabus and what we are going to be doing together. Today, we're going to start the quote unquote serious business of the course material and lectures and all of that stuff. So there is some little bit of flexibility. If somebody had an issue with posting the question and so on, we're giving them a little bit of room to be able to do so, inshallah, so that, there is more flexibility. But the rule is that the questions should be posted before the class starts. So every time it's supposed to be before the class session at 5:30 p.m., inshallah. Salam alaikum, Brother Rashad.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How are you doing?
الحمد لله الحمد لله يا بامين.
Alhamdulillah. Doing well? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Okay, let's
Apologies,
get
I
started.
pray, Asr, and then I came early, I guess. I was thinking the class starts at 5:30, but it does start at 5:30, right?
It does start at 5:30. I was just online a
Okay.
little bit earlier for a discussion with Dr. Dalia, but it starts officially at 5:30. So you're
So we have
good.
to ignore the time from Popular, because it
Yeah,
still
the
has.
time is 5:30. Yes, the time is 5:30. You're good. Yeah. Okay, so let's start officially, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Let's start with our dua. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم آمين يا رب العالمين. So welcome to our session this afternoon. And before we start our business, I would like to introduce Dr. Dalia Mabrouk, who is a physician, and she is also a graduate of the program, the Masters of Islamic Religious Leadership. And she very kindly agreed to be the TA, the teaching assistant for this course this summer. So I would really appreciate her help and support with the course this summer. I will give her a chance, of course, to introduce herself to all of you. But I just want to explain that, all the grading and the content, anything related to the lectures, the content, the grading, these questions come to me. Anything related to discussion questions, recordings, uploaded files, the opening of assignments, all of the logistical stuff goes to Dr. Dalia, okay? So the content questions are for me, and the logistical questions will go to Dr. Dalia, inshallah. And I would like to give her a chance to introduce herself, and she will also send you a message on Populi, giving you her email as well, so that you will be able to reach out to her by email with any logistical questions related to the course, inshallah. Dr. Dalia, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi
Alaikum
wabarakatuh.
assalam wa rahmatullah.
Jazakumullah khair for the wonderful introduction, Dr. Sahar. By the way, I'm Dalia, I'm not Dr. Dalia. Jazakumullah khair. We are all colleagues here. And one more thing, I didn't graduate yet. I have one more year to graduate, so I'm still a student of the
Okay.
program. But I've been with the program for 5 years because I'm part-time student, so I'm taking my time through the courses in order to, inshallah, increase the benefit rather than rush through graduation. So my name, I think all of you know me, even Nadine. We didn't take classes together, but we have talked over the phone yesterday. And my name is Dalia Mabrouk, and I am originally from Egypt, physician by profession, have 3 kids, and have been in the States for about 26 years now. And I think I know all of you either from classes or retreats or TA is in classes before. So it's wonderful to be with all of you. And yes, inshallah, my email and my phone number will be provided in an email after class today. And also they are available on Populi. If you go to the syllabus page, you will find my name and phone number and email address, inshallah, if you need that as well. And as Dr. Sahar said, I'm here to help with the logistics, and inshallah, it will be my pleasure to hopefully solve any issues that any one of you have. I did look at the discussion, and I think there was a problem in the setting. It was set as to be available at 5:30, not until 5:30. So inshallah, I'll fix that. Probably I will have to delete the discussion and regenerate a new one, but that's not a problem, inshallah. After class today, it will be available for all of you to upload your discussions over there.
Jazakallahu khairan, Dalia. Thank you so much. Wallahi, she is a physician, but she's a very modest person. She says, don't call me doctor, just call me Dalia. But just for the record, she is a physician. And mashallah, she's very modest. And you see, she has a beautiful personality. Mashallah. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting her except a few minutes ago, but I can already tell what a kind of a wonderful, kind-hearted, wonderful person she is. Mashallah, tabarakallah. Thank you so much again for your help. And we really, really appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, you are more than welcome to attend our sessions whenever you have the time. And you are able to, would be honored to have you attend our sessions and even participate with us in any class discussions, any, breakout rooms, anything that you feel that you would like to participate in. You are more than welcome to do so, inshallah.
It will be my pleasure. Jazakumullah khair.
جزانا وإياكم جزانا وإياكم إن شاء الله. So yes, after class, please, if you can kindly reopen the discussion space for Islam.com chapter 1, and make the due date June 16, which is going to be Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. So for all of you who did not have a chance to post your question under the discussion space, you will have a chance to do so, and you will not be penalized if you did not send it to me by email. You will not be penalized for that if you sent it by email, jazakum Allah khair, but you can still post it again under the discussion space once it opens. So this way you can also make sure that everything is on record and in the right place, inshallah. Okay, and we will also open discussion spaces, Sister Dalia, for also chapter 2 as well. So it's going to be chapter 1 and chapter 2 for June 16 at 5:30 p.m. inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so those of you who read chapter 1 in the book Islam.com, and I hope everybody had a chance to read it, I would like to hear your thoughts on it. But before doing so, I want to give you an idea about why myself and my co-author, Dr. Muhammad al-Nawawi, decided to write this book and what was the purpose of writing this book in the first place. So both myself and my co-author, Dr. Muhammad al-Nawawi, are Egyptian Americans, like Sister Dalia, born and raised in Cairo, Egypt, and have been in the US, of course, for a long time. So we are Egyptian Americans. And we noticed that after 9/11 in particular, I'm sure you all know what happened after 9/11. What happened with the image of Muslims after 9/11? Somebody would like to volunteer? You can use the raise hand function like we agreed last time and just share your thoughts. What happened in terms of the image of Islam and Muslims after 9/11? Volunteers who
Sorry,
would like to
can't
volunteer?
find.
Sister Nadia, go
It
ahead.
took me a while to find the raise hand function. But yeah, I think it just you know the Islamophobia increased, the anti-Muslim hate, the fear that was put in. I mean, Muslims all over were exposed to hate crimes, etc. I mean, we were just labeled as terrorists. You know, the whole. I think all of us here who have been here in America, and we all discussed last time how long each of us has been here. We'll probably remember it in some form or another after 9/11.
100%.
Maybe
Yeah, go
even
ahead.
within the Muslim community, I think the increased amount of fear, it probably also led to people taking off their hijab or, not being visibly Muslim or willing to be, vocal about it.
Yes, sadly enough, everything you said is correct, Sister Nadia, that after 9/11, there was this kind of really fear of Islam and Muslims, creating all of these negative stereotypes and misrepresentations and misconceptions about who Muslims are, and the fear of Islam and the fear of Muslims, absolutely 100%. Sister Zil?
Yeah, I have the same thought that there was a sharp spike in the hate crimes and Islamophobia increased, vandalism, harassment, these kind of cases increased, and at the government level, it expanded more surveillance and detention. Their system, their policies changed towards us, towards Muslims. And overall, if you see, I remember there was a time when we didn't have to go through all this security system at the airport. But after that, it became so strict that the TSA was created, and then you have to go through all these process of checking and surveillance, and then we I feel that we had more surveillance in our masajid and our Islamic institutes, and overall everything changed. Overall, I should say that globally everything changed.
100%. Thank you so much, Sister Zil. And even Sister Nadia mentioned that some women, unfortunately, and this is very sad, right, felt like being visibly Muslim, right, as in wearing your hijab in public, was dangerous for them. I know a friend who is a Pakistani American, and she told me the story like she was with her kids in a public space and she was approached by this white middle-aged man, and she felt very unsafe and very insecure about the whole thing. She was very scared. And because of this one incident, she decided to take off her hijab. Of course, it's a very sad thing and very heartbreaking just to hear that. Sister Iman?
Jazakumullah khairan. I think most of us can, I just want to share a little bit personally and then go off from there, can kind of remember if we were old enough, remember where we were when 9/11 happened. I was in Florida. I was living in Gainesville, Florida at the time. I was 8 months pregnant with my first child, and I got a phone call early in the morning. Do not leave your home. There is an attack on America, and you'll be unsafe. You will be unsafe. And we actually stayed in our homes for a couple of days, processing. Those of us who were born and raised here and understood, people's curiosity about Islam and what it was, and then the stark change post 9/11 in the media that came with 9/11. But it also, the part that I want to add is that as Muslims, we realize that we can no longer live the life that the Muslims had created for themselves, those who had come from in the 60s and the 70s. That so from this 9/11 came the what we call right now MLFA, the Muslim Legal Fund of America. CARE also came after 9/11. Many of our organizations, our dawah programs that we have across the nation, our open houses, like things. So although there's always the negative of it, a lot came out of our communities pulling together and saying that we have to have more people in the media, we have to have more lawyers, Muslim, have to have more journalists, and we haven't reached. I know last time we talked about this, Sister Sahar, we haven't reached the levels that we should have, but there was an awareness that what kind of professions should we gear our children towards in these coming years to help us deal with Islamophobia. And I think that's why we're better equipped. We're not perfect yet. There's always room for improvement. We are much more better equipped as a Muslim community in the United States now, and the Islamophobia is rising now, than we were in 9/11 because of 9/11. And so there seems to be some cyclical kind of trend to what happens to us. And the hope is that we continue to improve, and are we prepared, how we respond, and things like this.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Iman. These are very important points. And I always say that as horrible as 9/11 was and the devastating impacts it had on the Muslim community for all the reasons you mentioned, I saw Sister Dalia wrote in the chat that she always gets selected for quote unquote random, right, checking in the airport. And then Brother Rashad mentioned same. And I think that many Muslims experience the same thing, like random. Oh, really? Is it random? Like if I was, Emily with, blonde hair flying everywhere and like, I Western person, would you still select me randomly? There is nothing random about it. It's very much about who you are, because you are visibly Muslim, right? In the case of Sister Dalia, her hijab. In the case of Brother Rashad, his name, right? So, I mean, there's nothing random about it. But having said all of that, there is actually a silver lining. Subhanallah. A lot of things in life happen, and then you say, oh my God, it's horrible, it's terrible. Why did this happen? It's like, and then you say, oh my God, this also had a silver lining. So believe it or not, the silver lining in 9/11, and to Sister Iman's point, was like some people started to say, wait a minute, right? What are we gonna do about it? So just the attention and the consciousness about the whole notion of Islamophobia. Islamophobia, of course, being defined as the irrational and exaggerated fear of Islam and Muslims. And we'll talk about Islamophobia a lot this semester. We'll have a lot of discussions and conversations about what is Islamophobia, what can we do in order to use the media successfully and to engage the media successfully in order to fight and counter Islamophobia. That will, be a big part of our course this summer, inshallah. But Muslims started to feel like we have to be organized, right? So organizations like CARE, like MAS, other organizations started to really kind of up their game and say, let's provide some kind of protection for Muslims, legal protection, organization, community. Of course, we still have a long way to go. I mean, I'm not saying like, yeah, we've done it. No, we're still taking steps in the right direction, but we are hoping to see more of these steps taken, inshallah, in the future so that we are better organized, better engaged, better trained, better equipped, right? So I hope this course, inshallah, will be one step in the right direction by the end of this course, that you'll get more awareness and knowledge of the tools that you can engage with and engage the media with in a successful way, and also within your community. Remember, communication is not just in terms of TV and radio and newspapers and social media. There is also communication within your own community, and many of you are playing very important roles within your communities already. Alhamdulillah. So we just need to give you better skills and better tools to do this job in a better way, inshallah. But the silver lining was the better organization and awareness among Muslims, and there was also a need to know more about Islam and Muslims. So a lot of universities started to create programs of Islamic studies, Arabic studies, right? I was hired personally 18 years ago in the University of Maryland under one of these searches. They were searching for a scholar of Middle East media in particular, right? A very specific search. So I said to myself, I think I know somebody who would be a good fit for this position. And I decided to apply for the job. And the rest is history, as they say, right? So, I mean, the good news is like also people started to say, what is Islam? Who are the Muslims? So they started to search. And subhanAllah, some people started to convert to Islam as a result of this searching. When they started searching and searching and searching, oh my God, this is a great religion, right? And they started to convert to Islam. And some universities and centers started to create Islamic studies and Arabic studies and Middle Eastern studies programs as a result of 9/11. So that is the silver lining in this cloud. However, having said all of that, myself and my co-author felt like not all of these programs and not all of this interest was necessarily always in the right direction, meaning a lot of it has been focusing on what is called terrorism studies. So yes, we're interested in the Muslim world, but only from the pinhole, right? The very narrow pinhole of looking at things like terrorism. Like we have a center in the University of Maryland called STARTS, Studies of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism. I'd never work with this center. I will never work with them because, hey, wait a minute, you're looking at the Muslim world as just a source of threat. So myself and my co-author as Muslim Americans said, wait a minute, is this the way that the world should see us? They should see us as a threat, as terrorists or potential terrorists? Let's just study these people because they can possibly be radicalized and they can possibly be extremists and terrorists, and therefore let's create programs to study terrorism and responses to terrorism. And when they talk about Muslim websites, oh, jihadi or jihadist, radical extremist websites by groups like ISIS and so on. So myself and my co-author, Dr. Muhammad Nawawi, said, wait a minute, how about creating a book or writing a book that just talks about Muslims as everyday Muslims, as average, ordinary people, which is what the 2 billion people are across the world, right? Across the globe, who are not members of Al-Qaeda or members of ISIS or members of any terrorist organization. They're just mothers, fathers, educators, teachers, community leaders, just like all of you here on this call, right? So that's the idea of Islam.com came out of this desire to counter not just the negative messages and stereotyping that happened after 9/11, but also the faulty and distorted focus on Islam and Muslims from the narrow lens of terrorism and countering terrorism. So we wanted to have a book that talks about, hello, these are just ordinary people engaging online and talking about issues that are important to them, important to their families and their communities. They might agree, they might disagree, they might have different opinions, just like every other community, whether it's Christian, Jewish, or any other community. So that was the whole idea or the whole reason why we decided to write Islam.com in the first place. So I felt like it's important just to explain to you the logic and the reason why we were motivated to write this book, since it's assigned in this course. We're going to be covering the different chapters, inshallah, as we go along. So with that said, I'd like to turn the discussion over to you. Those of you who read the first chapter, what was the discussion question that came to your mind or that you wanted to pose on this first chapter, please? You can raise your hand in the raise hand function, or just raise your hand and I will call upon you to start our discussion. Who would like to volunteer? Sister Iman, go ahead.
I'll go first. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Go ahead.
In the beginning of the chapter, before you start going into the Islamic concepts and meanings of shura and ijma and things like that, they were really talking about what does a public space of discourse or what the public space really mean. And I thought about, like how is there diversity in the public space? People have different backgrounds, religions, ethnicities, social status, the rural versus urban, where they live. And so until now, and so the question that came to my mind is how much, have we actually reached like a true public space in the United States, and are Muslims present in that public space yet, and to what extent, kind of like what you're talking about, like what we mentioned, what you just mentioned in last week, to what extent and how can we best enter the public space in which we're, it talks about being equal, like what are the people who are in the public space are equal to each other. When you talked about the bourgeoisie, and they're all kind of in this camp from the same background and abilities and educational, skills. So we don't come into the public space as Muslims as the minorities or the ones that are, oppressed or repressed, but we come as an equal and have equal kind of say and impact. I think a lot about the education system, or a question like what role do we now, like the education, the curriculum is being continuously changed in many of the states across the country, introducing these subtle Islamophobic messages or messages that are against our own, values and ethics as Muslims and other people who have a religious background. And also, introducing even Christian concepts in some of the southern states into the education system of our children who are in like elementary levels. And so are we in that public or that aspect of the public space, and how much are we heard? So those are the questions that came to mind and that we can discuss a little bit.
Yes, Jazakallah khair, Sister Iman. These are very, very important questions. And it's the concept of the public sphere, which is proposed by Jürgen Habermas. Habermas is a German philosopher, and he proposed this concept of the public sphere, right? And he said basically the public sphere is an ideal space where people can come together for, remember this word because it's very important, rational, critical deliberation. That's what he said, rational, critical deliberation. In other words, we will come together, engage in a discussion, engage in a dialogue in a very intelligent, smart, critical way in order to be able to deliberate and talk about a certain issue of importance and relevance. And when he talked about the concept, he said things like egalitarianism, that it's going to be an equal space which is open to everybody. And people started to critique and criticize his very ideal model and to say, wait a minute, is it really equal? To Sister Iman's important question, is it really equal? Does everybody have an equal space? Is it really egalitarian? Does everybody get invited to the table and invited to take part in this discussion and dialogue in an egalitarian fashion? Or is it just some but not others? So in the Habermasian model, it was criticized for being, mainly about the bourgeoisie, upper middle class men. So we're talking about European, white, upper middle class bourgeoisie men. And the critics of this public sphere said, wait a minute, that is very exclusive. It is not really inviting everybody. And then the question that Sister Iman posed is like, what about Muslims? Can we see ourselves as equal players and equal participants into this public sphere? Or are we in a quote unquote marginalized position where our identities are not really being seen or appreciated or respected equally? These are very important, very serious questions. Because also when you think about things like even the educational curriculum, right? Right now you have the whole discussion about the LGBTQ plus, right? Which is like a big discussion in the Muslim community where parents are like, wait a minute, I don't want my child who is 7 years old or 8 years old to be reading stories and novels that makes it normal to have two fathers or to have two mothers. Because I'm a Muslim and for me this concept is haram. It is not accepted religiously and my religion does not permit it, right? And then people will look at you, wait a minute, you're expecting us to support you because you are a minority, because you are a Muslim, and we stand with you on issues like free Palestine and your rights and immigration issues. Hey, you should also reciprocate and stand with us on issues like, sexual freedom and and homosexuality. So there is always this kind of tension, and I can tell you for sure that not everybody has equal access to the public sphere. There is definitely those who are more privileged because of their gender, because of their race, because of their color, because of their capital. The word social capital means like your education, how much money you have in the bank, your income, your zip code. These things are not equal. And in the case of Muslims, definitely we are being seen as a minority, a marginalized groups, and therefore we do not have the same equal access in the public sphere. And that is a big issue of controversy and debate. So thank you so much for bringing that up, Sister Iman. Sister Nadine, and then Sister Nadia. Sister Nadine?
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. So, Sister Iman mentioned a few really good points even within the questions, and it got me thinking a little bit about like how do we have the education system be suitable for Muslim students, families, etc. And I think there's a few ideas that come to mind. One is I think that we need to be unapologetically Muslim. For example, in the new idea among college spaces is to have prayer areas. So as you guys know, I come from the University of Connecticut, and alhamdulillah, surprisingly, um, we're one of the few universities that has a masjid kind of like on slash near campus in a way. Like it's a few minutes walk based on whatever class you're in. And so we're very blessed to have that. And but we're a very big campus, so we decided we also need these other spaces around campus. The thing is, our university when starting it looked at other universities, and the other universities when they have the prayer spaces like the small rooms and stuff, they know they thought they could just copy and paste the idea of like an interfaith, and we really strongly told them we can't do that necessarily because we need to have the space be free of, any certain images or idols, etc., right? So I think that concept needs to be applied to everything. Like if there's something that we can't compromise on, we shouldn't. And if there's something that we need to be successful as students or for our children to grow up in a safe environment, Islamic environment in this non-Islamic world,
Mhm,
we
mhm.
need to advocate for it. And then the one other thing about Islamophobia that I wanted to share was a lot of universities are getting stronger in their bias departments, which is amazing. However,
Getting what, excuse me?
they're getting stronger in the bias departments. So like
Uh-huh.
they'll have people like if something Islamophobic happens to you, you can report it, or if something
Yes.
anti-Semitic happens to you, report it, right? But the issue is because I've talked to these departments myself, they've noticed that Muslims don't fill out the forms as much as other groups will, unfortunately. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think this really ties well with communication. I think because subhanAllah, like the director himself told me, like he's like, I know Islamophobia happens, if not equally or more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the issue is, I don't have the data to prove it, and unfortunately, other groups may exaggerate or put false claim, and for multitudes of reasons, this data is skewed and not in our favor. But I'm hoping that somebody can generate some idea or some suggestion to see how can we continue to be unapologetically Muslim in a way. And then in terms of the reading, I was just curious because it talked briefly about like how do we know or how do we kind of absorb or understand Islam in a way? Like who do we hear it from, et cetera, et cetera. And so it has me thinking because now we have AI, we have all the social media platforms. So,
Yes.
and some of the like younger youth, they'll just, Google things or just go to their favorite creator. But how do we just determine who has trust and who doesn't? Because I think if we bash everybody online, then it'll hurt our ummah. So I was curious, like what is the best guideline to determine who has earned trust? How do we go about when we need to consult our needs, etc. Like if there's a good way in this modern day.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Nadine. You gave us a lot of food for thought here. The first part of your remarks about being unapologetic Muslims, this is very, very, very important. Because unfortunately, some people, when they are, surrounded by hostility, right? Or negativity, like we talked about, the sister who took off her hijab because, she had this incident, right? Taking off your hijab or hiding your identity or changing your name from Muhammad to Mo, right? Or, from Osama to Sam, right? And we've seen that happen time and time again, unfortunately, is not the solution. The solution is to stand up for yourself and exactly what you said, right? To be proud of your identity, proud of who you are as a Muslim. And at the same time, if you face any kind of discrimination or face any kind of negativity or any kind of hostility, don't sweep it under the rug. Make sure that you are outspoken. Speak up about it. And you are absolutely right that when Islamophobia happens, a lot of Muslims are reluctant to report it. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to mention this incident. There are now offices, like you said, bias incident office. I also have that at my university as well. And these offices are there so that you report to them. You go to them and you report, right? When you are facing discrimination, when you are facing hostility, when you are facing negativity of any sort, you should report it. Because if you don't report it and you have the other side, like you said, over reporting and sometimes exaggerating or even making stuff up, it's not going to work in our favor as Muslims. So speak up, be outspoken, don't sweep it under the rug, and be very proud of your identity and don't be apologetic about it. Be an unapologetic Muslim. That doesn't mean that you are being hostile to others. When you say things like, we need our own praying space, you can explain that to others. We appreciate, in fact, we believe in all the religious scriptures, in all the religious holy books, in all the messengers. If we don't believe in them, then we are not Muslims. We are asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran to believe in all the previous revelations and holy scriptures and prophets and messengers. But we need certain requirements for our praying space. Like you said, to be free of idols and all images and all of that stuff, you need to have a certain level of purification to get into the masjid or the praying space. So for these reasons, we are requesting to have our own praying space. So when you explain yourself to others, they will be able to understand where you're coming from. And they will not see this as like, oh my God, these Muslims are so hateful. They don't accept others. Why are they against the idea of having an interfaith chapel? That is so bad. That is so discriminatory. So when you explain yourself to others, that really helps a lot, in my opinion. Yes. And then you mentioned the question about the book. I cannot remember what the question was now, the second part.
It was more about like how do we know if a person or a platform or an avenue has like
Yes.
trust and like
Yes.
how do we go about that? Yeah.
Very important, very important. It's the question of who speaks for Islam, right? So the book talks about who speaks for Islam. In other words, the question of religious authority. Because now in the digital age, with so many platforms and so many different places, like you rightly said in your comments, sharing all of this content, sharing all of this information, not everybody is an expert. Not everybody has the religious know-how or the religious knowledge that enables them to give you the religious fatwa, the religious advice, which is correct. So in this kind of very busy marketplace of ideas and everybody is posting, how can I find out if this source is credible or not, right? So you need to have two very important things: religious literacy and media literacy. The religious literacy means you have to build your own Islamic knowledge, right? And Islamic awareness. And I hope that your Masters of Islamic Religious Leadership and the courses you are taking in Quran, Hadith, Tafsir, Sirah, all of the beautiful parts that you are covering in Islamic studies will equip you with the minimum knowledge that you need in order to have the proper religious literacy. And the media literacy, that's what we're going to be doing, in fact, this evening in this course, starting to talk about what is media literacy. How can we tell the difference between an authentic source and an unauthentic source online? How can I possibly try to find out the credible source of information, right? You have to compare and contrast different sources. Don't just start to repost and reshare and retweet whatever you see online blindly, right? So you need to have these two things at the same time. You need to have religious literacy and you need to have media literacy. If you have these two things together in place, you will be in a good position, inshallah, to tell the difference and to be able to navigate this space more safely, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan. Sister Nadia, thank you for your patience.
No problem, inshallah. Yeah, so I think one interesting argument that I found in the chapter was how it stated that the number or levels of the ulama like decreased because of the increase of availability of Islamic knowledge via the internet, right? And so I think there's pros and cons to that because of the, Islam has expanded so much across different continents and stuff. So, for instance, me being here in Southern California, I don't need to go out and travel to some place like Al-Azhar to learn my religion, right? I could do it from here. Of course, the cons would be, what if I fall upon something that teaches Islam incorrectly? But like you said, if we equip ourselves with, like you kind of already answered that, I guess this part of the question, but if we equip ourselves with the proper, um, you know, credible sources of Islam and media literacy, I think we can still benefit from that. Um, so I just, my question was basically, is it actually is it because that Islam is now so readily available via the internet, if you will, that the number of scholars has decreased? Like I don't know if that's like a causal
Yeah, the book
relationship,
did not,
but
yeah, the book did not say that the number of students, the number of scholars decreased. The book said that the number of scholars who were willing to enter the cyberspace and share their opinions online, like the authoritative
yeah.
scholars, like the big scholars,
Mhm.
some of them were reluctant to be online for a number of reasons. Some of them
Sure.
did not have the linguistic tools. Some of them did not have the technical or digital tools. So they were like, some of them said, oh, we were not invited. I'm not going to enter a space where I'm not invited. I have to be invited in order to enter the space. So there were different reasons.
Mhm.
However, I want to remind you that this book has been written in 2009,
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
right? And between 2009 and 2026, a lot has changed,
Mm.
right?
Right,
So
right,
you
right.
can also
And
say that during these years, now we are seeing an increase in the number of Muslim scholars and ulama, right, who are willing to enter the digital sphere.
right. Right. No, and I agree with that. And I made a point in that in the question because, when I think of like someone like Yaqeen Institute, like without even having to, I feel like they have a well-established presence online and that disseminates Islam accurately and clearly through different modules, right? Whether it's like audio, if you're an audio visual learner, if you like to read scholarly articles, if you want to watch a video, etc. And then I think, like you said again, the book was written in 2009, but like social media, like I can't keep up with the rate of change that we're going through. So, for something like how do we talk about Islam in the public sphere, especially the internet? I mean, like social media just adds a whole another layer. I don't know how exactly that is, but yeah, just interested to know like what you think, being an author of that book, I guess like what are your thoughts on what role social media now plays in disseminating Islamic knowledge so
Yes,
widely, so fast paced,
yes.
very wide distribution amongst in the world, right? And like what are the effects of that on our ummah as well?
Yes, that's an excellent question, Sister Nadia. I think that the short answer is that it's a double-edged sword, right? It's a
Mm,
double-edged sword. There are pros and cons. The pros are, of course, you can reach people in every corner of the world. Like you said, you don't necessarily have to travel somewhere. Even this program that you are enrolled in right now, the
right,
course that we are studying together, this session that we are having right now, right, would not have been possible if we did not have digital tools, right? So the digital tools can make knowledge more accessible, more widespread, more available to many more people across the globe. And that's a good thing, right? I see that as a positive thing. I see that as a good thing. This kind of widespread knowledge to a very large public across many geographic areas and many different parts of the world. That's awesome. That's great. But the downside is the point we have been talking about of who speaks for Islam, right? So you have also to do your homework. And by doing your homework, I mean double check, verify, and confirm. Again, double check, verify, and confirm. Very important. So when you talk about, for example, Yaqeen Institute, okay, I want to look at who are the scholars, right? Are they really like, authoritative figures in their field? These people know what they're talking about. They have the proper religious education. They have the proper Islamic credentials. If that's the case, I can take this kind of knowledge and say, sure, I'm going to take this knowledge from Yaqeen Institute and I feel safe that they're giving me the proper knowledge. But you cannot just go to some kind of anonymous blogger, somewhere, giving someone some kind of fatwa which is like tailored to their own needs, and people go there because they want to do like, a fatwa cherry picking, like I'm going to choose the fatwa which is easier for me or that makes me feel good or it suits me better, right? It's called fatwa cherry pick. You cannot do that, right? So you have also a responsibility. And your responsibility is to have the two things we talked about, the religious literacy by having the basic religious knowledge that allows me to tell if this is a valid institution, valid scholar I can take my knowledge from or not. And the media literacy, which is what we're trying to achieve in this course together, inshallah, that when you look at a story or a post or a blog, how can I find out if this is true or false? Before I just go and share it and I tweet it and I post about it and I share it with others, because hey, if it is proper and correct, you are gonna get a lot of hasanat because you are helping to spread proper knowledge. But if God forbid it is the wrong post and the knowledge is not correct and it's inaccurate, I'm afraid to say that it can be, God forbid, astaghfirullah, sayyat. So it is very serious. It is very serious. We want to have hasanat jariyah. We don't want to have, la qaddar Allah, God forbid, sayyi'at jariyah. That would be terrible. So that's why we have to navigate very carefully and remember that you have this responsibility on your shoulders and be very careful whatever you are sharing online because you want to create more and more and more hasanat, not the other way around, God forbid. Brother Rashad, thank you for waiting patiently.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have anything to add to all that. I mean, I think it's really very important what you said, alhamdulillah. And I just wanted to maybe highlight what one of the things that I kind of stuck out to me. I was able to do all the reading and I highlighted a lot of different things, but I had to go through and see which one I wanted to cover. And you kind of just discussed it. I think this one set on page 18, you mentioned since various cultures have different interpretive approaches, a particular text does not necessarily have to produce one correct interpretation. I think we started talking about textual analysis and finding validity there. And it kind of to me speaks to the same thing you're talking about now. Was like, how do we understand that certain people online that we encounter online may in fact have different opinions from the same vantage point. They just came to different conclusions. And I think that's really kind of what we're, the challenge that we're dealing with, like scholars that are now on social media. Because I think sometimes it's not even just that they know Islam, because many of them really, some of them, let's say many of them, but a good number of them have studied and they have the record, but then they have different objectives. Some of those objectives are good and some of them are not always good. So we do have the concept of the scholar that's not, even outside of the circles traditionally of the scholar that's, billah, working for an evil cause. And I think there are people out there that may be good, maybe scholars that may be good, but they often can sometimes raise matters that are end up increasing the negative image of Islam online, or have interpretations that while maybe valid actually are not used in the right way. And the same thing goes the opposite way. There's beautiful, obviously, scholars and teachers out there that are doing beautiful things that go beyond the pale, and in fact that they produce great content and are sometimes not given the credibility that they deserve. So I think there's a lot going both ways, and that's where I think what you're talking about here is really important. This textual analysis, being able to not only, I think maybe you're mentioning also, and I'm curious to ask you, Lisa, it's also a textual analysis, maybe a cultural analysis there as well. Maybe understanding where the teacher, before we really commit to consuming certain content, we understand what this certain individual is speaking to, what their background is, what their objectives are, what their mission statement is, you know. But yeah, that's kind of been my challenge because you know it's easy to find a clip of one scholar or speaker and be really impressed, and then find something else and be like, "Whoa, what did I just get myself into?" That's been my big social media experience. It's like, you know, you may share something from this person that might have been great, and you realize later on, like, wow, this person said that. And so, you know, and again, sometimes it's just like you say, sometimes they're not they don't have any, you know, there's no evidence of any study or you know there's no record of others vouching for their knowledge or their credibility. But
Yes,
yeah,
thank you so much, Brother Rashad. These are also very important points. And I want to highlight two important things here. The textual analysis in the book, we're talking here about the methodology that we used, both of us. It's a qualitative study. So we're obviously looking at different posts, right? And whenever we do qualitative research, we cannot say, oh, it is generalizable to every single post and every single website under the sun. Because every book, every scholarly work, every paper has its limitations, right? So, for example, in the book, we're saying, okay, these were all Sunni websites. So, for example, we did not look at any Shiite websites, for example, right? So, you know, the book has its limitations because we did not cover every single Muslim website because it's just simply not possible. It would be an impossible mission if we wanted to do that. So, we had to be selective. And with that selectivity, we have to also explain that it includes a part about subjectivity, right? We are human beings. We have our reasons for writing this book. There are limitations, and we always like to be honest about it, right? But we also want to explain the part about the cultural difference that Brother Rashad mentioned, very important. When you look at different texts, the texts represent whoever has written them, right? The cultural background, where they're coming from. This is called diversity and plurality. Is diversity and plurality a good thing or a bad thing? What do you guys think? Good or bad? To have diversity and plurality, is it good or bad?
it's good. I would say it's good.
Right? It is good. Does
Sometimes.
everybody agree it's good? You can raise your physical hand or, you know, shake your head or, yes, diversity and plurality is good. Allah did not create us to be identical to each other. He could have made us all Chinese. Every one of us is Chinese, right? Every one of us is Egyptian. Every one of us is Canadian or Mexican. But He created diversity on purpose. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We have made you into nations and tribes so that you would get to know each other. So diversity and plurality and pluralization is a good thing, right? So let's appreciate this diversity. Let's embrace it. Let's celebrate it. However, what about polarization? Polarization is a very different story. Polarization is basically, what is polarization? Can somebody define polarization for us? How can you define the term polarization? What is it?
I think about ideological rigidity to a certain point, to one direction.
My way or the
I
highway,
agree.
right? The moment Brother Rashad is going to disagree with me, right? Oh my God, we're going to go this two separate ways, right? So it is basically taking things to the extreme. Like you have the North Pole and you have the South Pole. So polarization means you are taking it to the extreme. If you don't share my worldview 100% and you agree with everything I said, we are no longer friends. My way or the highway. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Polarization. Good or bad?
I
Bad.
think
Definitely
Very bad,
Bad.
right? It's terrible because it implies, what does it imply, Sister Zil? When you have polarization, what does that mean?
Obviously, you are not ready to agree on anything if it's coincide with your opinions. So you cannot, you always in disagreement.
Exactly, because remember, you did not endorse everything I said, right? You had some differences with me. How can you have some differences with me? This moment, we're going to become enemies. Oh my God, that's terrible. And this state of polarization is exactly what's happening around us in the world. If you look inside the United States at US politics today, right? Democrats versus Republicans, right? If you look at the global image, if you look at what's happening in the Middle East, if you look at international image, polarization is what is happening and driving people apart rather than bringing them together. Very good. I have a follow-up question. What role do you think social media might be playing in this polarization process? Let's put it this way. What role is it playing in terms of diversity and pluralization? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question, what role is it playing in terms of polarization? Who would like to take the first part of the question? Nadine.
I think the digital media and design has helped Masajid. It has helped university MSAs and other nonprofits to reach a broader audience, to bring new faces to the Masajid or events, and especially people that might be curious about Islam or might want to understand Islam a bit more. And in terms of even engagement, because you might go to a halaqah, right? But with masajid that I've noticed, when they have like a really strong digital presence, like the families and the youth, they'll know about the next event. And so you'll start to see that new faces become regular faces. So I think in that sense, that is one positive of having not just like the classic flyers, but as you mentioned, the duplicates of different, I guess, mediums.
Right. So basically, the social media can be a free marketplace of ideas. Let's put it this way, right? It will allow people to interact, to hear about other people's ideas, right? To be exposed to different lines of thought, to different ideas, to different writers, different thinkers, different speakers that otherwise you will not have a chance to be exposed to, right? And Sister Nadia was talking earlier about the geographic distance, and she doesn't have to travel all the way to Cairo to attend a session in Al Azhar. She can hear the speaker from Al Azhar online, right? This person can be speaking to her online, and she just saved a few $1,000s, right, in aeroplane tickets and hotels and expenses and all of that stuff. So that is an advantage. In a sense, yes, social media is helping you to have more diversity and more pluralization. Thank you. Sister Iman?
And then the other side of the coin is what was mentioned last week about the algorithms. So what happens to people who pause for a minute or read something that's Islamophobic, then they continue to receive Islamophobic content. And so it makes them further, or whatever content, you're following a certain news item or something, you continue to see it over and over. And we see that on our social media all the time regarding which like app we're using or which media. And so it can actually polarize what historically neighbors from two different backgrounds and two different religions could come together and have to, now they could be sitting in their own living rooms and further thinking things about each other, completely putting them on opposite, not positive notes because of this social media. So the algorithms are not necessarily can be a very detrimental thing.
100%. So you now took us to the second part of the question, Sister Iman, which is the polarization part. The algorithm that we talked about last time, the algorithm is this built-in function in social media that once you click a post, right, about something, it will keep feeding you more and more and more of the same. I gave you the example last time. I buy a jacket or a boot, and then I see all of these ads, right, appearing about, oh, we have a discounted jacket of this particular brand, right? And if you're talking about things like, you just visited a white supremacist website, right? It's going to give you more of the same. If you visit an Islamophobic website, it's going to give you more of the same. It will keep feeding you the same content. Now, this is going to feed into the process of quote unquote polarization because it's going to create what we call an echo chamber. Have you heard the term echo chamber before? Right? Echo chamber, raise your hand if you heard the term echo chamber before. Yes. An echo chamber basically is you're creating your own bubble. You're living inside your own bubble. So you are somebody who started to have friends who have white supremacist ideas, and all the friends in their circle are going to share the same white supremacist Islamophobic kind of rhetoric. So they create an echo chamber or a bubble, and that, of course, is going to increase polarization, right? So you can think about it as a double-edged sword. It can go both ways. Like I said before, it has pros and it has cons. Part of the pros is diversity, You break the geographic barriers. You can get knowledge from across the world. You can hear different views. That's awesome. But on the flip side of the coin, right, it can also create the echo chamber or the bubble or the polarization, and the algorithm can be one reason why you might have this problem. Thank you, Sister Iman. Sister Nadia?
Yeah, I think just adding to that, I think differentiating like the tools and the ability that we have to do that versus what are still like the rules that are there. So, for instance, to Brother Rashad's earlier point, there is still censorship. There is still like powerful figures who have the more money they have, they are able to. I mean, we saw it all with the post on Gaza and stuff, and people getting their accounts deleted or removed, or like getting shadow banned, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on social media. Like I left it after college just because I personally like I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I just personally don't like it. It's just for me, it's not for me. But I understand that it's not something to shy away from, and it's something that is present in our communities. But I don't think there is. I still don't think there's equality in the online, the public sphere, if you will, because depending on who is the more powerful company or whoever it might be, I mean, they're also going to, like, I think Brother Rashad posted an article about, paying to create like certain groups and things like that, but they also censor what people are able to see. So, if you're gonna remove my account because I posted that there is a genocide happening in Gaza, I mean, then there's that's not an equal uh sphere either. Um,
100%. Thank you so much for raising all of these points, Sister
mm,
Nadia. Very important. Jazakallah khair. Definitely, when we talked about the ideal, right, Habermasian public sphere, the way that Habermas, right, initially conceptualized or imagined this public sphere, he came under attack and he came under criticism. And part of the reason why he was criticized was precisely that it's not an equal sphere at all, right? People think that social media, just by being online, everybody has equal space and everybody has equal opportunity to post and to write. Is that the case? Is that true that everybody has the same equal space? Absolutely not. Number one, we have something which is called digital divide. The digital divide means the gap between the technological haves and have-nots. There are those who are able to buy devices, they're able to have 24/7 high-speed internet, they're able to have digital literacy skills, and those who don't. Can we assume that everybody on the planet has the same degree of digital access 24/7 around the clock? The answer is no, right? I'm paying for the internet connection I'm using right now on this call, right? If I decided not to pay Comcast, I will not have the connection anymore, right? So you need to have the equipment, you need to have the digital literacy skills to be able to use it. You need to have the 24/7 high-speed internet, and we cannot assume that everybody on the planet has access to all of that. So that is called the digital divide. The digital divide. Please remember this term, okay? But in addition to that, there is also all the other issues Sister Nadia just mentioned. When you talk about a sensitive and controversial issue, like what happened in Gaza, and you start reporting on it, right? Some of your posts or even your entire account could be suspended or blocked or shut down. And that happened to a number of people I know. They had their account suspended or blocked or shut down because they were actually posting about Gaza or they were using the word genocide, right? You can also have shadow banning that Sister Nadia as well mentioned. What is shadow banning? Can somebody define the term other than Sister Nadia, of course, since she's the one who mentioned it? Do you guys know what is shadow banning? What is shadow banning? How can you define it?
I think
Is that when the
uh,
visibility is restricted, right?
Visibility is restricted. You want to add something, Brother Rashad?
it's like when they use the algorithms to basically hide your posts, or they use some type of technological feature to for people they're not seeing what you're putting out there. There's
Exactly.
different ways to use it. They have all different types of ways to do it, but yeah.
Right. I faced that on Twitter, on X, when I was posting some videos, my immediate interviews and stuff about Gaza. And now my posts only reach, I don't know, less than 100 people on Twitter. That's called shadow banning. So shadow banning is interfering in order to limit the accessibility to your own posts, right? So even when I have a post now that says, for example, Eid Mubarak, Eid al-Adha Mubarak to all my family and friends, right? And it has nothing to do with Gaza, right? Still, it only reaches a very limited number of people on Twitter, on X. And that led a number of academics and writers, intellectuals that I know to be very frustrated with Twitter altogether. They started to leave the platform and to use other things like Blue Sky and other websites, right? So that's called shadow banning, when they start to interfere to limit the exposure to your own posts online and the visibility, how many people can actually see your own posts online. That's called shadow banning. And again, it's a form of controlling and dominating who gets access and who does not. So again, we're talking about the point of like, not everybody has equal access. The idea of total egalitarianism online is a myth. It is not true. It does not exist. Even online, there are people who are privileged and people who are disadvantaged. There are dominant groups and there are marginalized groups. And with that kind of lens, you can start looking at some of the stuff that's happening online. And Sister Dalia added a comment in the chat saying, in addition to that, also some people are facing discrimination even in their own workspaces, right? Like even in their own professions or their jobs when they speak out about Gaza. Absolutely 100%. I agree with you, Sister Dalia. That is also part of the problem, right? So that's why people said, wait a minute, is it really egalitarian and equal and everybody, taking us back to Sister Iman's very first question that started the conversation when she said about egalitarianism and equality. Is it really an equal public sphere? And are we as Muslims totally invited as equal partners and participants on the table, or are we excluded from the table in some cases, or we have a less advantaged place at the table? So these are all very important questions, and the book Islam.com, of course, does touch upon many of these questions, but I'm also glad that you are adding more timely developments, like the recent Gaza war, the genocide that's been going on there, because we cannot turn a blind eye to these types of events and these kinds of challenges and how they're also playing out in cyberspace and online. These are very important things, and they definitely make us raise a lot of questions. So thank you all. These are excellent points. Anything else about chapter 1 in Islam.com before we turn on to our presentation for this afternoon about media literacy? Anything else about Islam.com chapter 1? So I'm glad it raised a lot of food for thought. My God, these are all excellent points. Thank you so much for being critical readers. You're not just reading, but you are being critical. You are putting your critical lens while you are reading, and that's exactly what you should do. You should be critical thinkers and critical readers. Even if your professor happens to be one of the authors of this book, right? You can come up with critical questions. Like I remember one time I was teaching a course as a visiting scholar at University of Chicago for one semester. And one of the students raised her hand and she said, may I ask you a question? You are an Egyptian Muslim and your co-author is also an Egyptian Muslim. Why did you decide to adopt a Western model coming from the German philosopher Jürgen Habermas, while you are both non-Western scholars? Right? So I really, really liked her question, right? And I said to her, that's a very intelligent question, because we felt that some parts of it could be relevant and useful in terms of our own analysis, right? When we talk about the concept of ijtihad, the concept of shura, consultation, deliberation, there is some similarity to some of the parts of the Habermasian model about the public sphere, like critical, deliberation and all of that. But having said that, it doesn't mean that we should just adopt it blindly or uncritically, like, oh yeah, everything that Habermas said is applicable. No, not everything that he said is applicable, right? And not everything that he said is even correct. right? He's a human being at the end of the day. He tried to come up with a model. We can critique this model, which is indeed what you guys have been doing in this very excellent discussion, like saying, hey, is it really egalitarian? Is it really equal space? Is everybody really invited, right? We can take things a step further. Is there really critical deliberation going on online? So, hopefully, as we progress with the book and with additional chapters, we will start to hopefully also answer some of these questions with more nuance and even more depth moving forward. But the discussion space will be opened again for you, so you can post your discussion questions on chapter 1 as well as chapter 2, inshallah, before our class on Tuesday, June 16. So with that said, and before we go to the break, I would like to go over the presentation that we have for this afternoon. So let me share my screen, inshallah. And here is the presentation. I want to see where the presentation is. Give me 1 second. No. Give me 1 second. This is interesting. I do not see the item I would like to share, which is a bit frustrating here. I don't know where it went. It's a little bit frustrating because I did pull it up just right before class. I had it here on my screen. Now I cannot see it for some reason. Subhanallah, which is a little bit frustrating. So I'm not sure where it went.
You have a Mac
Maybe
or a Windows?
حضرتك, do you have multiple windows open or multiple screens?
I have multiple screens, yes.
So maybe it's got shifted on the other screen.
Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to see the other screens. Just give me 1 second. Okay.
Is it Windows or a Mac?
My computer is Windows. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Media literacy.
Concepts and applications. I see
Yep.
now.
Yes.
Sorry about this glitch. I just had more than one window opened at the same time, so I had a bit of a difficult time locating it. Okay, so now you can see it in full screen mode, right?
No, it looks like it's
No?
But
Okay,
it's just a
okay.
window.
Can you see it now?
that's
Yes.
better.
Yes, now we
Like
can
full
see.
screen? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, so the presentation I want to share with you is called Media Literacy Concepts and Applications, and it's also available for you under Files. So inshallah, after class, you will be able to find it under Files. It's there also under the same title, which is Media Literacy. So before we start, I want to ask you, and you can just speak up because I'm not able to see everybody. I have it on full screen mode right now. When we talk about old media, the term old media, what do you think about? We can have any volunteer just tell us what is old media.
It's the newspaper.
You think about newspapers. Very good. What else do you think about?
Telegrams.
You think
No,
about what?
I would say telegrams. That's too old.
Telegrams. Okay, what else? What else?
News on TV.
News on TV. Okay, television. Very good. What else?
The radio.
Radio. Very good. Okay, so we call that traditional media, old media. We also call it the mainstream media or legacy media. So there are different names for it, right? You can call it mainstream media, you can call it traditional media, you can call it old media, or you can call it legacy media. There are so many different names for it, okay? And then you have the new media. When we think about new media, what do you think about? Things like what?
Social
New
media, all
media.
kind of, yes.
Very good. You think about digital media, you think about new media, you think about social media, right? So we have this kind of shift between the old kind of media or the traditional mainstream media, and then you have the newer type of media, which is basically the digital media or the social media. So we also have the concept of media literacy that we talked about earlier today when we were talking about, okay, how can I know the difference between the authentic post and the unauthentic post? How do I know if I should trust this source or I should not trust this source? That's a conversation we were having earlier. And I said that you need to have two things. You need to have religious literacy, but you also need to have media literacy. And that's an important concept I would like you to master. So what is the definition of media literacy? How would you define this term? What do you think about it? What is media literacy? What comes to your mind when you think about it?
Being able to fact check and
Very good.
also like critically think about what you're absorbing.
Very good. You mentioned two very important things, fact checking and also being able to double check and to verify and to be critical thinkers. You don't just take things like blindly at face value. Oh, I just saw something online and I'm going to tweet it or share it or post it with others uncritically. Don't do that, right? So that is an important part of media literacy. So media literacy is a set of skills that we actively acquire and use to expose ourselves to the media and interpret the meaning of the messages we encounter. It is a multidimensional and multifaceted concept, and these skills could be rated on a continuum. So you need to acquire a set of skills that will enable you to expose yourself to the media and interpret the meaning in a very intelligent way. So the whole thing about having this ability to be critical and to fact check and to double check and to compare and to contrast. This is an important part of what we call media literacy. Media literacy refers to the capacity to understand, analyze, and critique the media content. It involves meaningful engagement with mediated messages in print, audio, video, and internet platforms across different forms of communication and different communication settings. So you see here the skills, understand, analyze, and critique the media. And it is also involving meaningful engagement with mediated messages in print, in audio, in video, in different internet platforms, and across different communication settings. Media literacy focuses on adapting to our changing world rather than ignoring these changes and these changes that are happening around us. We adapt by opening ourselves up to a wider variety of messages, then analyzing these messages for new elements and evaluating these elements to appreciate their value. So you always have to keep an eye on what is happening around you. We are not isolated from the rest of the world. Right now, we have been talking about new developments. You know, the Gaza war, what's happening in terms of Gaza genocide. You have to be very much able to adapt to the changing world around you and the new changes and developments, and to be able to engage with them critically and in a smart way, and to evaluate these different elements and aspects in a smart and intelligent way. So all of these skills fall under the definition of what we call media literacy. The prevalence of the media makes media literacy a necessary part of everyday life and education. Radio, television, and newspapers, and now the internet bombard billions of people with information and entertainment all the time. The media cycle never stops. It actually reaches people 24/7. Its reach goes beyond national borders to international borders, operating 24/7. Media literacy helps us to differentiate the information we receive from tabloids versus reputable news organizations. In other words, to be able to distinguish between facts and misinformation and disinformation. If you remember, we talked last time about the difference between misinformation and disinformation. Can somebody remind us what is misinformation and what is disinformation? Any volunteers?
I think we stated that misinformation is incorrect information, but either by omission or mistake, error, and disinformation is intentional. Um, Intentional
Exactly.
misinformation, with the deceived, yeah, the information disseminated for deceitful or, yeah,
Like
for
Exactly.
misinformation is the intent is not to harm somebody. It's just you can say a mistake, a disinformation that you are doing intentionally.
Exactly. So the first one would be معلومات خاطئة, maybe wrong information, that we call that misinformation. And the other one is disinformation, معلومات خادعة or مضللة. I assume that everybody has a good level of Arabic or at least basic Arabic, right? So the first one is
mistake.
misinformation, like you guys said, is like maybe there's a mistake, right? Misspelling, an error, but it's not intentional. The second one is much more dangerous because it is disinformation, which is really quote unquote intentionally misleading, right? So I'm giving you information which is wrong, but intentionally misleading, which is a very dangerous thing, of course, as you can imagine. So that's the difference between misinformation and disinformation. And with media literacy, you will be able to differentiate the information that you are receiving, whether it is facts or whether it is misinformation or disinformation. Also distinguish between tabloids and reputable news organizations. What is the meaning of the word tabloids? What does that mean? Tabloids.
Is there actually a textbook definition of tabloid? That's a really good question.
What is
Um,
tabloid? Yeah.
like the Examiner there on the right, that's a tabloid. It often includes uh, blatant disinformation most of the time. That's what they're
Or
usually.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, that's what
So
it
a
is.
tabloid is like basically sensational, like for gossip, scandals, sometimes we call it yellow journalism. Another term for it would be yellow journalism. So we call it tabloids or we call it yellow journalism. Okay. And this is mainly sensational. It is based on things like, gossip, scandals, celebrity news, right? This kind of trivial stuff. So you see here the example, you see on the left side, the New York Times, of course, being a reputable news organization. We don't have to agree with everything they publish, but at least it's a professional publication, right? Saying the racial barrier falls in decisive victory. It's reflecting on Obama's historical victory, of course, being the first black president in the history of the United States. And then you have on the other side, oh my God, shocking proof that Obama is a Muslim, right? And of course, that is not true. He was not a Muslim. His father was a Muslim, but he was raised Christian. And people were like commenting on that, and oh my God, look at that. Some people will just take it at face value if they don't have the proper media literacy skill. They will just take that and repeat it. And then others were like, no, this is not true. This is just gossip. This is just tabloids. This is just yellow journalism. And this is just disinformation. He is not a Muslim, although some people said, what if he was? Still, he is a great president and it's a great historic victory, regardless of his religion. So these are just some examples to get you thinking about some of the differences here between authoritative journalism and tabloids and yellow journalism. Brother Rashad?
Yes, quickly. I mean, since the latest, I think after the 2020, the last election, Joe Biden's election, I can't think what year that is now, but this Fox News had to rebrand themselves as entertainment. I mean, would you include Fox News as yellow journalism? I mean, they really kind of admitted that they were.
Yeah, I mean, Fox News is an interesting case because professionally, right? They are a television channel. They have very wide viewership. So they are supposed to be professional journalists. But unfortunately, a lot of the content that they circulate sometimes would fall neatly under what we can call tabloids or yellow journalism. So it is a very good question. Thank you for asking that, Brother Rashad, because you can have a gray area in the middle between the professional journalism and the tabloids and yellow journalism, unfortunately. So mastering media literacy skills will help us understand how to respond effectively to different messages. For example, after Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump in 2016 insinuated that Mrs. Ghazala Khan's religion was the reason why she has been stopped from speaking at the Democratic National Convention in 2016, Ghazala Khan stood up for herself and she explained why she was not talking on stage during the Democratic National Convention because she saw the image of her martyred son and she was very emotional about it. Do you guys remember this incident when Trump at the time was a presidential nominee and he was commenting on Mr. Khan and his wife Ghazala Khan, and she was standing there on stage, she was silent, and he said something like, "Oh, look at his wife. She was standing on stage and she was silent. Maybe she was even not allowed to speak. She was silenced and not allowed to speak." So Mrs. Khan wrote an article explaining that she always speaks and nobody stops her from speaking. And in fact, the reason why she was not speaking at that time is because she saw the image of her son and she was very emotional. So a group of Muslim women from a group called Karama, Karama of course in Arabic means dignity, they started a campaign on Twitter and on social media at large called hashtag Can You Hear Us Now? And under this campaign, they started to give examples of Muslim women using their own voices. So this Karama campaign of Muslim women, this is the image that they posted online. You can see that there is some diversity there in terms of race, ethnicity, age, generation. Some of them are wearing the hijab, some of them are not. They started to say all of us are Muslim women and all of us are speaking up. So for example, a woman will say something like, "I am a professor. The moment I step into the classroom, I am the only one who is allowed to speak. Hashtag Can You Hear Us Now?" Another one said, "I am a consultant with NASA. And when I go to NASA, everybody hears me when I talk. Hashtag Can You Hear Us Now?" And so many different examples. You can check this campaign for yourselves and see how interesting it was. It was a way to use the media effectively to respond to the false claim or the false misrepresentation of Muslim women being quote unquote silent and not being able to speak for themselves. So these Muslim women started to use social media and create this hashtag Can You Hear Us Now campaign just to make sure that their voices are heard and that their own identities are made clear and visible to everyone. And it was a very, very successful campaign. Why is media literacy important and for whom? Anybody would like to address this or answer this question? You can raise your hand as well, or you can just talk. Why is media literacy important and for whom? Any thoughts?
Everyone.
Yes?
Yeah, I would say the same. I think it's important for everyone, especially anyone who has access to media, which I think these days it still is majority of the world population.
Many people are starting to go online. A lot of people are now using digital media and social media, not just mainstream media, especially young people. Like we said before, for these young people, they can be very confused. What kind of media should I actually use? What kind of media should I actually believe and why? Right? So media literacy is very important and indeed, like you said, for everybody. So we have media literacy raises the capacity of citizens and citizen groups to participate in public life on a better and deeper level, giving further meaning to information exchange. They can communicate their ideas and engage meaningfully and democratically with others. Media literacy contributes to the improvement of the quality of discourse on public policy and public opinion issues. So it helps what we have been talking about earlier as the positive part, the part about diversity, the part about pluralization, being diverse, having different opinions, different views, to engage meaningfully in a smart way, in a democratic way with others. You can do all of that stuff in a successful way when you are mastering the skills of media literacy. So it's not just about distinguishing facts from misinformation and disinformation. It's also about giving you the tools to be an informed citizen and being able to have discussion and dialogue with others in an informative, useful, democratic, engaging way online. Understanding different types of media, traditional versus new media. So the traditional media, and sometimes you also call it the old media or the mainstream media, and sometimes they also call it legacy media. It encompasses television, newspaper, radio, and magazines. These forms of communication used to be the only and the most steadfast ways to reach different audiences and consumers for decades, for a very long time. They were the roots of advertising and the most common forms of media utilized by businesses on a daily basis. The pattern of communication is linear, in other words, one way. You sit on the couch, you watch television, you receive the message, but you don't have the ability to send a message back to the television presenter. New media or digital media, on the other hand, is the future of communication and advertising, and it refers to the content that's easily accessible in many different forms of internet-based communication platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, which is now called X, TikTok, YouTube, etc. The pattern of communication is circular and two-way. In other words, you can be a producer and a consumer at the same time. You can be a sender and a receiver at the same time. I can send messages and I can also receive messages on social media. I can be a sender and a receiver at the same time. So that's why it's a two-way process. So the old model, if you see the old model, right, people are just consuming television, newspapers, radio, and people are just receiving the messages. So it's a one-way process. The arrow is a one-way arrow from the medium to the receivers or the audience. The new model is circular. It goes in a circle, right? Because you have people receiving messages and sending messages. They're consumers and also producers. They're senders and receivers in a circular, ongoing fashion. So it is more circular, more ongoing, and it's a two-way process, not a one-way process. That's one of the important differences between the old and the new models of media and communication. The basic communication model was we have a sender, a message, a channel, receiver, and feedback. We call that the basic communication model. This is how we studied communication for many years. So you have the communication model, you have the sender. This sender is going to create a message. This message is going to go through a channel or a medium, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's television, whether it's any type of medium. It's going to reach a receiver or an audience, and then this audience is going to then give feedback, right? The feedback is going to then go back again to the sender in the form of a circle. The old types of communication, like the traditional mainstream legacy media, were more one way. The feedback was always delayed. Maybe you want to send the letter to the editor, but it might take a week or more than 1 week for this letter to arrive to the editor. The editor might reply or might not reply to your letter, right? It's a very slow process and a very delayed process. Right now, in the age of new communication, digital media and new media, the process, like we said, is more intertwined and interconnected. It is more circular. It is more two-way process, and it just happens immediately. You can see something online, you don't like it, you're going to post your own comment on it, and you're going to be seeing it online immediately. Effective persuasive communication campaigns. What is the word persuasion? What is the word persuasion? What does the word persuasion actually means? If you try to persuade someone, what are you trying to do?
You are trying to convince.
Okay, what does convince mean?
You are trying to prove that your point is right, and you are giving the
Okay, or maybe wanting to change their mind right? So if I want to
Yes.
persuade someone to stop smoking, right, I will start to give them all the facts and information like, oh my God, smoking is bad for your health because it can create like, all of these diseases. You can get lung cancer and, people die early because of smoking. So I'm going to persuade you to stop smoking by giving you all the facts and the information and the data that is going to prove to you that smoking is bad. And by doing that, I'm hoping that you will stop smoking, and I'm going to convince you to change your mind and change your habit as well. We call that persuasion. So effective persuasive communication campaigns. In 2012, just an example, the Invisible Children organization created a video that went viral. Of course, something goes viral when it really starts to be widespread online. A lot of people are exposed to it. A lot of people start sharing it. The video was shared in emails, on social media, and on news websites. The online platform helped spread the message and raise awareness about the rebel soldiers in Uganda and their kidnapping of young children. It focused on Joseph Kony, a warlord who recruited child soldiers. The video had 120 million views in just 5 days. It was shared by celebrities like Bill Gates and others. And after the release of the video, the organization had raised $32 million to combat the problem of recruiting children to make them fight in wars. So it was called Connie 2012. If you did not watch it, it is worth watching. And it went viral because it was able to raise awareness about this issue in a very short period of time and to gain visibility about this very important issue. So indeed, you can use digital media platforms if you do it in a good way, if you produce the content in a good way, in a visibly attractive way, and you put it in the right place at the right time, it can raise awareness about certain issues and it can gain visibility and go viral online. And of course, in that case, it was for a very good cause. So that was an example of a successful persuasive online campaign. Ineffective persuasive communication campaigns, or things can go in the opposite direction. If you are not well planned, if you really do not plan things in the proper way, if you don't create the right message, if you don't put it in the right channel at the right time, things can go in a negative direction and it can become ineffective. One example was also in 2012 when McDonald's launched a hashtag in order to promote its brand and engage with the customers. Unfortunately, hashtag Mac Stories or McDonald's Stories was used on Twitter, but not to spread good messages about McDonald's, rather to complain about the company and its products. McDonald's ended up paying for this bad publicity. For example, here you look at this hashtag McDonald's stories. I just read that McDonald's chicken nuggets have a foaming agent in them, similar to products used for building materials, right? So, of course, some of that might be completely disinformation, but the bottom line is the campaign did not achieve its goals. It was not well thought, and the whole thing went in a bad direction because people co-opted the hashtag in order to spread their bad experiences with McDonald's. So it really defeated the purpose. And McDonald's ended up paying for this bad publicity. So the bottom line is, if you're going to start a campaign, you better have very clear planning. You must have strategic goals. You must know what the objectives and the goals of your campaign. You must use the right platform in the right way at the right time. Otherwise, people can just co-opt your own hashtag or campaign and it can go in a completely wrong direction. So, what makes a certain campaign successful? You have certain golden rules, and that's important for you to keep in mind because, as I said last time, you have your final project, which is going to be a final paper and a final presentation on a campaign that you are going to be designing for any organization or institution or cause that you feel strongly about. So this is going to give you here some important guidelines to think about when you are thinking of planning your own campaign. The golden rule: always know your audience. Last time, if you remember, when we had the introduction, where are you from? Why did you decide to study, in the Muslim leadership program? What do you hope to get out of this course? We said that this is very important, not just for ice breaking, but because I want to know who my audience is. And by knowing my audience, I will be able to tweak my messages, the course content, to suit you in the best way possible. So always know your audience. If you don't know your audience, you will not be able to design an effective campaign. Number two, set clear and realistic goals and objectives. If you don't have clear goals and objectives, things are not going to go in a good direction. In fact, they can backfire and it can be counterproductive. It can go in a completely negative direction. Choose the best message. The message has to be simple, clear, straightforward, and factual. Always remember it has to be based on facts. Simple, clear, straightforward, and factual. Choose the best channel to deliver the message, right? If I want to reach an older generation, maybe ads in a newspaper would be a good way to reach them. If I want to reach the Gen Z generation, maybe I should use TikTok and other types of newer modes of communication on social media. Choose the best timing for the campaign, right? If you want to reach housewives, it's going to be very different from reaching children, very different from reaching men who are working 9-to-5 jobs, right? And then you have three important stages: design, implement, and evaluate. Design your campaign, implement your campaign, and then evaluate your campaign at the end. Why is it important to evaluate at the end? After I finish my campaign and everything is done, why would it be important to evaluate? Why is evaluation important at the end?
So you can understand your failures and successes, so you can continuously iterate more content.
Very good. Assessment and feedback, right? Assessment and feedback. Maybe you think that you designed the best campaign ever. You are very happy about it. But what does the audience actually think? Do people think the same way? Did people really understand your message, right? Did they really appreciate your message? Did it actually achieve its goals? Yes or no? You will never be able to answer these questions unless you do some kind of evaluation at the end. The evaluation is going to give you the feedback to be able to assess. And like Brother Rashad said, be able to find out the strengths and the weaknesses and hopefully learn from this feedback and improve your future campaigns moving forward. Okay, now I want you to take note of these points, of these 4 points, because that will be what you're going to be doing together in the breakout rooms after the break. So basically, maybe you want to take note of that or just write down the points at your end. So the first question is, can you think of other requirements for the success of a media campaign? So we talked here about planning, we talked about, objectives, we talked about, design, implement, and evaluate. The question number 1 is, can you think of other requirements that are needed for the success of a media campaign? So please take notes just for your own reference or your own record. Number 2, can you think of other examples of a successful media campaign? What made it successful? So I want you to think about an example of a campaign that you believe was successful and why you think it was successful. And question number 3, can you think of other examples of an unsuccessful media campaign? What made it unsuccessful, right? Maybe also you have campaigns that were not achieving their goals or did not go a long way. What made it unsuccessful? And finally, how can media literacy skills contribute to designing a successful campaign? So we talked about media literacy, we talked about the definition of media literacy, we talked about media literacy skills, but the question is, how can the media literacy skills contribute to designing a successful campaign? So please take note of these 4 points at your end. Just make sure to have these 4 points written down at your end, because that's what you're going to be working on together in the breakout rooms after the break, inshallah. The other requirements for the success of media campaigns: an example of a successful campaign, why it was successful; an example of an unsuccessful campaign, why it was not successful; and how can media literacy skills contribute to designing a successful campaign. Did everybody have a chance to take note of that? Yes? I hope so. Okay. All right, and with that, we came to the end of the presentation. Of course, happy to have any questions or comments quickly before we go for our break. Thank you so much, and I will now stop the share. Okay, so I just stopped the share. Like I said, this is available for you on the course files. You have this PowerPoint presentation available for you. If you look under files, you will find the PowerPoint presentation called Media Literacy. So you don't have to worry about writing everything in the presentation because you already have it there. And I hope you took note of the few points at the end because that's what you're going to be working on together, inshallah, in the breakout rooms after the break. There is a question from Sister Nadine.
Those were the questions
Oh,
that were on the
you're writing it in the chat for yourself, okay? These are just notes for yourself. Okay. Now it is 7:14. So let's take a break, inshallah, until 7:30. When we come back at 7:30, we're gonna put you in the breakout rooms and you will have a chance to work on this assignment, which is answering these 4 questions, right? And we're gonna give you something like, 20 minutes or so to work on it together, and then we're gonna reconvene for the last 10 minutes of class just to go over your findings from your discussions. Brother Rashad?
Are we really aiming at any media campaign or mainly humanitarian? Because there's some commercial media, I guess.
Any example of a media campaign. It's your choice,
Okay.
right? So maybe during the break, you can be grabbing a bite and getting your tea and also thinking while you are getting your tea or your snack, right, about some of the successful or unsuccessful campaigns. In other words, starting your homework a little bit early so that you are more efficient and effective when we put you in the breakout rooms after the break, inshallah. All right. So let's take the 15 minutes break and see you back online, inshallah, at 7:30. Okay? Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. The rest of the group, people are still enjoying their snack. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, here we have Brother Rashad, Sister Nadia, the rest of the group. Sister Nadine, welcome back. We're waiting for Sister Iman and Sister Dalia. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me, everyone? We are starting again. Please join us. We are back in session. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Iman, Sister Dalia, Sister Nadine, everyone.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. I'm here.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Dalia, would you like to be joining the exercise with one of the groups? No? Okay. You don't have to, obviously. You don't have to.
I
Yes.
can if you like.
No, it's totally up
fine,
to you. I
inshallah.
mean, you're just attending the course for your own interest. You're not,
I don't
enrolled
want
as
to
a
take
student.
anybody's like turn, but يعني I'm happy to join inshallah in the groups.
Yeah, and it's totally up to you, 100% up to you. Would you like to join or you're not interested?
No,
You would
I'm
like to join? Okay, thank you so much. No obligation though, okay? No obligation. Okay, so I think we'll start dividing people into groups. Sister Iman, I hope you are back with us, inshallah. I hope at least you can hear us and you are with us. Okay, so we will break you up into groups, inshallah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 people, including Sister Dalia. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. So we're going to have 2 groups. There's going to be a group of 2 and there's going to be a group of 3. Okay. So Brother Rashad and Sister Nadia will be in group number 1. Okay. And then the rest will be in group number 2, inshallah. Okay. So let's start with the breakout rooms. Room number 1. We're gonna assign Brother Rashad and Sister Nadia. You're gonna be in room number 1, inshallah. Okay. And then we're gonna add a room. Room number 2 is gonna be Sister Dalia, Sister Iman, and Sister Nadine. Okay, so we're gonna give you 20 minutes, inshallah. So we're gonna come back here at 7:50 in order to go over your discussion results. Okay, I'm gonna open all the rooms now, and we're gonna break out. We're gonna close the rooms at 7:50, inshallah. Sister Iman, you are gonna be in room number 2 with Sister Dalia and Sister Nadine. Okay. All right, I'm going to open all the rooms now, inshallah. And we're going to see you back online at 7:50, inshallah. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Zell. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, you are not assigned to a group. Oh my God. Okay, we're gonna assign you to a group right now. I'm sorry about that. You should have
No,
told
no,
me.
no problem. No problem.
Sorry about that. Okay,
No, no, no problem.
give me 1 second. Zell. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna add you to the first group, group number one, which has okay, assigned to group number one, which has brother Rashad and sister Nadia. Okay.
Okay,
So you're gonna
sure.
be assigned to room number one, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Assalamualaikum, Dr. Sahar.
Salam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Sorry, my laptop ran out of charge, but are you able to add me back to the breakout room?
Yeah,
It's
we're
just
actually
wasn't.
closing in a minute, but I can add you back again, inshallah.
Okay,
Just
let
give
me
me
just
a
let them know.
second. I see a different account now, Nadia. Okay, assigned to room number 1.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Okay, 1. Okay, no problem. Go ahead. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. We're all back from the breakout rooms. Okay, so breakout room number 1, I believe it had Sister Nadia, Brother Rashad, and Sister Zil. So if you would like to reflect on the 4 questions that you have been assigned, we have a few minutes left. We want to give a few minutes to each group to share their findings with us. So try to be very efficient in terms of your use of time. So the question number 1 was about what other skills are needed in order to have effective communication campaigns. And question number 2, an example of a successful campaign. Question number 3, example of an unsuccessful campaign. And question number 4 was, why is media literacy important for designing a successful campaign? You can either delegate a spokesperson for your group to talk on behalf of your group, or you can be democratic and just have more than one person present different questions. It's completely up to you. I don't know if you discussed that among yourself, but you can also make a quick decision now as to how you want to present. I am fine either way. It's up to you. It's your group, your exercise, your way. Okay, I see Brother Rashad is unmuted. Would you
Yeah, I
like to
wrote it
get us
down. We
started?
had questions, and then we went through the questions and kind of answered them together.
Okay.
So I have the answers here, but if anyone, I definitely would welcome it, the teammates to add anything. Let's go Democratic Group 2.
Okay, the group 2 is deliberating among themselves. They're deliberating about the mode of presentation.
Brother
But for
Rashad,
group
I
number
think
1, you can have Brother Rashad present, or you can have different members present different parts, or he can present and then you can jump in and add something to what he said, whatever way you want. So
He can present, and whenever we feel something, we will just add in, inshallah.
sounds good. Thank you, Sister Zell. Okay, so yeah. All right, so go ahead, Brother Rashad, get started,
So
inshallah.
the first question we responded, can you think of other requirements for the success of a media campaign? So quality production output, and positive, positive, good environment and background, good hook, culturally and socially relevant. Design is aware of the trends, so the trends of the time are or awareness of various trends are a part of the production, a part of the production, and then no spelling or factual errors or other minor errors that would discredit the campaign.
Very nice. You talked about cultural sensitivity, keeping up with contemporary issues, being aware of certain important tools and platforms, using modern tools, and making sure that you are fact checking everything for accuracy and precision, right? Very good. Anything else that group number one, anybody else from group number one want to add something to what Brother Rashad said for this point? Or are you all on board with it? Okay, good. So let's move on to the next question about an example of a successful campaign and why you think it was successful.
So we had multiple campaigns we were looking at. We didn't think we have time to get through all of it, but there was two campaigns we were looking at, and I was looking at the Dr. Squash soap video, which is really silly, but I think it had some good points. And Sister Nadia was pointing out the Costco hot dog CEO commercial. But one of the variables that stood out, or the features that stood out on all of these, is they were concise, um, grabbed your attention. There's simplicity to them. They break the expected norms, and they're authentic. And
Okay,
we
for those of us who are not familiar with these two examples you just mentioned, in a nutshell, can you just very quickly describe each one of them?
The Dr. Squatch is a soap video about natural soap, but you're talking about the actual campaign itself. So it's
Mhm.
like it's a comedic kind of short 3-minute video. It starts out with, you know, um, a guy talking about, you know, the bad soaps that we use. And so it's kind of funny in the beginning because, he opens the shower and there's a guy, there's nothing nudity in there, but he's in there and he's got a rubber ducky and a little grandma hat on, and he's
Uh-huh.
holding soap, and he's telling the guy's telling him, hey, what kind of soap are you using? Using the soap that your mom gave you, and you don't know what it's doing to you. It's making your skin dry. Da 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 da. And he goes through and starts talking about this other version of soap, but then he pulls back the shower curtain again, and they're outside in nature. And so he
Uh-huh.
starts talking about the natural elements of the soap, everything that's in it that's like organic. So it kind of mixes all this stuff together, but it's
Nice.
funny and catchy. And
So
then
the visual part, definitely there's the visual part and
there's
there's
a
the use of
visual
humor
part,
as well, right? Being
there's
witty,
humor,
humorous, funny, and using also strong visuals.
and it's culturally relevant and trendy because people are focused on natural. People want to have products that are natural and organic, and so it meets that trendy, the part that is trendy, which is what Sister Lazel was telling us about. Was kind of that
Very
was what
nice.
that was the point from the first
The example of an unsuccessful campaign, you can just think of one. You don't have to mention more
one.
than one, just one.
We mentioned the Zara campaign during the genocide that took place, and then I think Sister Nadia also mentioned, or no, Sister Zell mentioned an ad during a hurricane to shop online, talking about how it was insensitive to people trying because you're selling to people during a
Right,
catastrophe.
the one on the Zara one, there was a whole thing about cultural, insensitivity,
Oh,
right, in
yeah,
the
that
middle
was yeah,
of the Gaza genocide.
precisely. Yep. So that's what we had. So we had two for that, and they were both of them were actually kind of a catastrophe because of their insensitivity to their audience. They just did not read their audience very well at all.
Okay,
And
so
the
the element
last,
of cultural insensitivity is an important factor here. Why things did not go as desired. Okay, and then the last question was about media literacy and why it's important for designing an effective campaign.
we have very simple one line, a 3-word statement: informed decision making. That's what
Very
we.
nice. So if you're
Yes.
not media literate, if you don't know your medium, if you don't know your tool, you will not be able to have informed decision making and things are going to go in a bad direction or a wrong direction. I totally agree with you. Anything else that group number one, anyone else from group number one, Sister Nadia or Sister Zil, want to add to what Brother Rashad already mentioned?
No, we're all fine. Inshallah.
We're all good with it? Excellent. Very good job. Thank you. Group number one. Give them a virtual round of applause online. We can give them a round of applause virtually by sending them hearts. Okay, like beautiful, wonderful. Thank you, guys. Okay, now to group number two, and you are, again, it's up to you how you want to present. Either you go.
inshallah. As fine to be
Yeah,
a
it seems
spokesperson.
my democratic idea has not worked out. So I will be the spokesperson.
Nadine is going to be the spokesperson. Go for it.
Inshallah, I'll keep it brief. I did write down our additional requirements. I put it in the chat. But long story short, we thought transparency was important. We thought that making sure that the campaign was in alignment, like it worked well with the long-term and short-term goals, because campaigns shouldn't just end and then next time you do it in a few years. No. There needs to be some continuation. And we want to make sure that the campaign has a conscious or even subconscious messaging beyond like the fundraiser, for example, that the people feel like they're contributing to a cause, not just like something materialistic. And so those were the requirements. It went perfectly with we were thinking of successful media campaigns. Sister Iman mentioned a brother who ramped up the media presence for, I'm not sure whether it was a masjid or mass, but by creating really good branding and a lot of videos, he inspired the youth. And then another media campaign that we thought of was a masjid, and they were trying to get a lot of money to renovate, but they talked about how this masjid would be for the youth. So the people felt like they were donating beyond masjid carpets, they were donating for a cause, like that they would benefit from it, their kids, etc. For
Exactly.
unsuccessful, Sister Iman mentioned how unfortunately there was an Islamophobic campaign, and they no, that was for successful, but unfortunately it was against our community. But they were persistent, and unfortunately they harmed a Muslimah. I think for unsuccessful, we didn't have anything specific. We only thought of when Islamic speakers, when they're on Instagram or YouTube or any online platform, what happens is they post a speech, but unfortunately somebody will choose a 5-second clip inside that speech, and then that speech becomes like, I guess, viral, but for the wrong cause. So our definition is unsuccessful means the intended purpose was changed, and not a good reason. And then for skills, the last question, we felt that just like the example about that Sister Iman mentioned, where the brother helped up with the branding and the online presence, skills translate to successful campaigns because you're creating a really good connection with your audience. If you have the skills, you'll be able to create a substantial, long-lasting relationship with your community, your audience, maybe even more than one audience, like the old and the young. That's the best. Try to get everybody, inshallah.
Very nice, very nice. So sustainability, right? You don't just do something good one time, that's it, then you disappear. Because if you do that, you're not sustainable, and you don't have a loyal audience that's going to be following you online, moving forward. And when you mentioned that the example of taking something out of context, that's called a sound bite. You take a sound bite out of something that's, somebody said, it's out of context. And of course, that would create a disaster if it is used in the wrong context. Excellent. Anything else that anybody from group number two, Sister Iman or Sister Dalia, would like to add? Excellent. So let's also give you hearts here. Did a fantastic job. Very good. Very good. Thank you so much. Wonderful. So thank you so much. This has been a very successful session, and I enjoy learning with you and from you, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. And Sister Dalia will kindly open discussion spaces. I will talk to her after the session. Inshallah, I'll send you messages, Sister Dalia. Thank you so much again for extending your help. Thank you all. Take care, and we'll see you online again, inshallah, on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wow.
السلام
Dr.
عليكم.
Sahar, can I have 1 minute? Just
Yes,
1 second to say
of
something.
course.
I opened a new discussion, and it's
السلام
going to be
عليكم. Everybody should say السلام عليكم to the students here. السلام عليكم.
I sent them a message. I opened a new discussion
Uh-huh.
for today's session,
Discussion
for the
spaces,
session
I
for
want
chapter 1.
one for Islam.com chapter 1, one for Islam.com chapter 2, and let's have one for the media literacy PowerPoint.
Oh,
So one for Islam.com chapter 1, one for Islam.com chapter 2, and one for the media literacy PowerPoint. Okay?
I did already create while we were in class. I created the first one, the chapter 1.
Uh-huh.
And I sent them a message that it was created, and I asked them to, like, whoever sent an email to حضرتك or whatever, to copy and paste their answers in the discussion. And I set it up to close on Tuesday at June 16 at 5:30 p.m. I'll
Very
do that
good.
for chapter 2 and for the media literacy
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
so you're going to have one for chapter 2, Islam.com, and you're going to have one for the media literacy lecture.
تمام.
Okay?
خلاص
Yeah,
إن شاء
just
الله.
say,
Do
the
that.
media literacy lecture, just remind them you have the file, you have the media, the PowerPoint presentation is available under files. Just go over it and post a discussion question on it before class on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
تمام إن شاء الله.
يعني
ويبصوا
يعني
على
كان
صلي
كنت
المغرب وأعمل إن شاء
يعني في
الله.
الدسكشن بورد بس حط لهم يعني فوق زي ريمايندر كده.
تمام
Just go
تمام
over the lecture and post a discussion question on it before class on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله. like a
خلاص؟
prompt. حاضر إن
And
شاء
one
الله.
thing I want you to do, please, Sister Dalia, is I want you to create a file at your end. مش في Populi ولا حاجة. انت اعملي فولدر او اعملي فايل سميه weekly exercises. خلاص؟ weekly exercises. فالنهارده مثلا اللي كان فيه 5 students موجودين، خلاص، اللي هم رشاد ونادية ونادين وزل وإيمان. خلاص، فالخمسه دول النهارده كلهم عملوا الايه، الاكسرسايز بتاع النهارده. فهتكتبي التاريخ بتاع اليوم، النهارده كان جون 11. خلاص، فهتعملي عندك تيبل كده، جدول هتسميه ويكلي اكسرسايزز، وهتكتبي فيه جون 11. خلاص، وهتحطي اسامي الخمس طلبه دول لان هم هياخدوا كريدت على الكلام ده في نهايه السمستر. تمام، في كل كلاس ان شاء الله، حتى لو انت مش افيلبل انك انت to join us for any reason, I'll give you the names of the students who attended the exercise, then you will be able to add them. بس المهم يبقى فيه التاريخ بتاع اليوم نفسه ومكتوب فيه اسامي الطلبه اللي هم ايه، اللي هم شاركوا. تمام.
تمام.
وبعدين
وده
برضو نفس الحكايه بالنسبه للدiscussion questions، عشان برضو يسهل لك المهمه بتاعتك. اعملي برضو عندك table for discussion questions. خلاص، وفور every discussion question عندك اسامي الطلبه. starting from Tuesday اللي جاي ان شاء الله باذن الله، هتشوفي مين الطلبه اللي هم عملوا الدiscussion question في ميعادها قبل 5:30 ومين اللي ما عملوش. فهتعملي عندك تيبل برضو للدiscussion questions وفي اسامي الطلبه اللي عملوا والطلبه اللي ما عملوش.
تمام تمام.
خلاص،
خلاص
ده يسهل لنا الدنيا جدا جدا في نهايه السمستر ان شاء الله.
طيب دكتور سحر, what I'm going to do for these two like tables or sheets, I'm going to create Google documents and I'm going to share them with حضرتك. So whenever I'm going to put the names and everything, you will be always able to access it and see it, علشان يعني يبقى حضرتك عندك full access for
ما
them
فيش مشكله،
all
yeah,
the
that
time.
would be great.
I'm
yeah.
going to create them, I'm going to add the students all the time إن شاء الله. I'm going to follow up on them. بس حضرتك تقدري supervise عشان لو عايزة تشينج أي حاجة let me know and I can change it.
تمام، بس هنعمل تيبل للويكلي اكسرسايزز وتيبل تاني للدiscussion questions.
We'll do so إن
Okay.
شاء الله.
Thank you so much Dalia. I really appreciate
تحت
your help
أمرك.
so
ربنا
much. جزاك
يكرمك.
الله خيرا.
ربنا
جزاك
يكرمك
الله
يا رب.
كل
إن
خير
شاء الله
عزيزتي.
كل ده يبقى created النهارده إن شاء الله. صلي المغرب work on them بإذن الله
خلاص
تعالى.
يا حبيبتي، جزاك الله كل خير. ومشكوره بس قبل الكلاس يوم الثلاث ان شاء الله هتبعت لهم بس announcement انه our
طيب.
class is meeting today at 5:30 as usual. وادي اللينك اهو، هو نفس اللينك اللي دخلنا منه النهارده، هو نفس اللينك بنستخدمه كل مره، بس انا ببعته لهم تاني كنوع من انواع التذكره. فبس تقول لهم انه dear students السلام عليكم, we're gonna see you tonight at 5:30 p.m. as usual, و here is the link for the meeting. بس
we'll do so إن
خلاص.
شاء الله بإذن الله تعالى إن شاء الله.
ماشي يا عزيزتي. ثانك يو سو ماتش داليا، جزاك الله كل خير.
يبارك في حضرتك يا رب إن شاء
شكرا
الله.
جزيلا، شكرا جزيلا، الله
yes.
يخليك. ماشي يا
جزاك
حبيبي، سلام
وأنا
عليكم.
انبسطت جدا بحضور الكلاس النهارده and it was very يعني
اه
peaceful and enjoyable and entertaining. وجزاكم الله خير for allowing me the chance to be with you.
جزانا واياكم والله. whenever you feel like it طبعا it's totally up to you, بس if your time permits I would love for you to join us and participate with us. يعني ده شيء يسعدني جدا يعني.
I'll do my best إن شاء الله. هو أنا اللي حصل إن أنا عندي some health issues. I recently had like 4 spine surgeries which makes my like positioning شوية
يا
صعب
حبيبتي
يعني.
ألف سلامة عليك، ألف
فساعات
سلامة.
هبقى يعني
لا
ظهري
لا it's
وجعني
up
مش
to you it's
قادرة.
up to you
أنا
خالص.
فاهمة أنا فاهمة، بس أنا حبيت أدي لحضرتك heads up إن شاء الله يا رب ما
totally
يحصلش
up to
أي
you. عايزة
حاجة.
تحضري أهلا وسهلا وتسعدينا بوجودك معانا. عايزة تحضري جزء وبعدين الجزء التاني لا تحضري جزء وأنت فاتحة الكاميرا أو قافلة الكاميرا، يعني
أيوه
it's
بالظبط
totally
كده يعني. I might
totally
need
up to you.
to decline شوية فهقفل الكاميرا عشان ميبقاش منظرها غريب إن شاء الله.
totally up to you يا حبيبتي.
الله
thank you so
يبارك في
much and
حضرتك.
جزاك الله كل خير.
تمام يا
شكرا
دكتور.
جزيلا. ماشي يا حبيبتي، السلام عليكم.
عليكم
سلام عليكم.
السلام
سلام.
ورحمة الله وبركاته. بحفظ الله. السلام عليكم.
مع السلامة.